Hey guys, how's it going today? GriffyBit here with another episode of Unit Rundown. Today, we're going to be talking about the healer. So let's get down into it. Welcome on in, everybody. Hope you're having that great grind time playing that Stream Raiders, getting them juicy levels, winning in all those dungeons and all those PvPs. So today, we're going to be talking about healer. As we go for all our other videos, we're going to start off with the basics, then head into specializations, where to place, pros and cons, my personal opinion, the rating out of 10, and then my outro. So, let's start with the basics. The healer is a low-cost support unit that heals in a single target but then splashes an AoE for healing. The role of the healer is support. The attack range is 3, but in the healer sense, the attack range is actually the range it's going to be healing because a healer doesn't attack, unless it's Hex Healer, but we don't talk about that. Its attack speed is 0.2, its movement speed is 1.3, and it can target flying. So that means it can also heal flying rogues. Epic version, however, everything stays the same except for the attack range, which turns to 3.5. The milestone abilities go something a little bit like this. It's a little bit different. It's not the same as the other units, like if you were attacking. So, for level 1, they cast a spell, which is its auto attack, which heals an ally for 2 HP and then does in a 2 AoE splash. Level 5, it does 4 HP. Level 10 does 8 HP. Level 20 does 16 HP. And level 30 has that juicy 32 HP in a 2 AoE splash. The epic version, however, is way different. Way different. For the epic version, it will do 8 HP at level 1, 16 HP at level 5, 32 HP at level 10. But the interesting thing is when it gets into level 20, it does 48 HP, but it gives you a plus 0.5 attack range. And then level 30 gives 64 HP with a plus 0.5 attack range. So this one's a little bit complicated from other milestones. It's a little bit harder to figure out, but the epic version is by far better than the regular version. So much more healing, it's almost double the amount. Now, target priority is actually a little interesting with how it goes. This is going to be a more complicated video. Let's just say that. The support class that we have going here is going to be way more complicated than any other class that we've had yet. So, the target priority of how it works is the healer has a 30 range. It will heal the first ally that is not full health. It starts off by damaged armor, then damaged melee, and then goes to damaged range, and then damaged Templars and monks, and then finally damaged assassins. It will not heal flag bearers or other healers, so keep that in mind. If there's no damaged allies on the map, it will seek out the nearest fully healed unit in the same priority that I said before. And it will stand still if the target is within a range of attack of 3. So it has a 30 range. Now this causes issues, and I'll explain more in my personal opinion later on down the line. And the units that they can walk through are melee, armored, Templars, and monks. They cannot walk through range, other healers, or flag bearers. So it's actually quite interesting because the healer actually has the ability to walk through Templars and monks, which actually most units don't have the ability to walk through those. So be aware of that. So now that we got all that complex stuff out of the way, let's talk about specializations. The first one we're going to talk about is Hex Healer. This is a spec that no one plays. Don't ever pick this one. This one's terrible. This is actually the meme dream for healers. So each heal also deals 2 damage to all units in a 2 AoE splash damage around the target. Not only does it heal, it also does damage. But realistically, if you're healing a tank, how many people are going to be in that 2 AoE splash? Not a lot. Maybe some other tanks, you're doing 2 damage? Probably not very good. For the epic version, it does 6 damage rather than doing the 2 damage. So I mean, you get an extra 4 damage, but that's still not enough. It is what it is. Grand Healer, on the other hand, increases the heal splash radius from 1, so it goes from 2 to 3. And this is for the viewer. For the epic version, it increases the radius by 2, so it does 2 to 4. For a long time now, the Grand Healer has actually been bugged and does not do what it says it does. Don't know why it happens, but also the thing about Grand Healer is it's compared to a micro and macro setting. In a macro setting, it's a little bit better, and by micro and macro's 30 plus, micro's 30 less. Macro setting, you have to have at least 200 people around you in order for this to actually be somewhat viable. But for the most part, Grand Healer has been bugged and it won't be viable in any situation. And then you got the one spec that wins PvP. This is literally the one spec that tells you the difference if you're going to die or not in a PvP match. Invigorating Healer is the spec you want to go. Invigorating Healer is absolutely dummy thick strong. It recently had a nerf as well, but even with the nerf, it is so strong. It used to be that it casts a buff every 5 seconds an ally in a 2 AoE radius, which grants 20% reduction to all incoming damage. That's rain damage, that's melee damage. All that damage is being reduced. And the old patch, it used to last 30 seconds, which was absolutely bonkers. The nerf happened, and now it only lasts for 8 seconds. But if you have enough Invigorating Healers, you could still keep that buff up consistently. This buff alone makes your double Centurion in a PvP meta situation absolutely god tier. This is what you want to take even for PvE. PvE with your tanks in the front line, this is going to be so good for you. In Epic version, it does 50% damage reduction. 50. The big 5-0. Literally godsend. This is why you see a lot of captains in PvP placing Invigorating Healers. Because Invigorating Healers as Epic does 50% on your double Centurion meta. This is god tier. You want to take this 100% of the time, all the time. No questions, no ifs, no buts. No Grand Healer, no Hex Healer. You want to go full Invigorating and only Invigorating. So where do you want to place the Invigorating Healer? You like how I said that? You like how I said Invigorating Healer? Anyways, continuing. So as our rest of our videos, as we have the example where we have tanks in the front, melee in the side, range in the back, and the healers right behind the tanks, that's where you want your healer. You want your healer right behind the tanks because they're going to prioritize all damaged tanks first, and tanks are going to be taking the brunt of the force first. So you want to make sure that they're right beside, but you want to keep them one space back so they don't get hit by that splash damage. You don't want them right up in their keister because remember, healer is ranged. So you want to abuse that mechanic and you want to make sure they're far as away as possible. Now let's talk about the pros and cons. We'll start with pros first and then make our way to cons. So pros, it is one of the only units in the game that actually heals. So that's pro on its own. It's one of the only units that actually has the ability to path through Templars and Monks. So the pathing issue is way less bad than you would expect. It's not required for a specialization to be good. So you could place this unit at level 1 and still see good things out of it and still do its job. It has a high movement speed, so it's able to cover the map faster than most units because of the extra 0.3 movement speed. It is used virtually in every game mode. Campaign, dungeons, and PvP, you'll always see healers every time, all the time. Now let's talk about the cons. Cons. It's mechanically confusing. What it says it does doesn't mean it's necessarily going to do that. You're stuck to one spec and one spec only. You're going to see this with a lot of units that you can't really change the meta because it's only one spec, but that's the way it is. Invigorating Healer is the only healer you're going to go, so it's one spec. It has a decent cooldown, but the cooldown, considering that the healer is the only unit next to the monk that actually heals, you're going to find this becoming an issue. It only does healing. It does not do damage and supports anything to your team. Even if you choose Hex Healer, you're not going to see any damage come out of it because it's not worth it. And believe it or not, it's actually stupidly hard to find in the shop. It's one of the 2 hardest things to find in the shop. You got Healer and you got Buster. Those are the 2 shop items that you will never find. So, my personal opinion on the Healer. I think the Healer is incredibly good, but incredibly complicated. There's a lot of mechanics in it that cause conflicting issues. For instance, if you have the healer in a 30 range radius, which we're going to talk about right now because this is super important, and a lot of people see this and they're like, what is the healer doing? So since it prioritizes damage, armored units in a 30 range, you gotta say, 30 range is actually huge. Basically a full map is about 100, around 100. So if you have a range of 30. You have 1/3 of the map where you can go for prioritizing of damaged armored units. If you have 2 packs that split up, healers on one pack, healers on another pack, but then the one side of the healers heal everybody, instead of them starting to heal other people, they'll actually walk all the way across the map, all the way to the other side, run into the mobs, get absolutely nuked out because the priority was meant to go heal that other damaged armor that was 30 range away. This is going to cause your healers to kamikaze for absolutely no reason, and it's completely and utter buggy trash. SR, you need to fix this. But in the end, healer is a very, very good unit when it's doing its job properly. When it comes to, like, for instance, a PvP setting, literally god tier. Invigorating Healer wins games. With your double Centurion, easily wins games. Usually what PvP comes down to is the mixture between who has more flying rogues and who has more healers. It's good in any game mode. Campaign, you'll always see them. Dungeons, you'll for sure always see them. They're just the only unit that's actually going to do any good healing. So in the long run, if they fix their bad pathing issues, healer would probably be one of the best units in the game by far. But because of those issues, it's not that good. And also the lack of damage. It doesn't have damage. So, I mean, but you got to give supports love too, let's be real. Any RPG, you won't progress anything unless you have a good goddamn support. My personal opinion, overall, it's alright. That's cool. It's mandatory, but it's not the greatest. Kind of underwhelming. The pathing issues fixed though, you got a god tier unit right there. So, all things considered, and after you're watching all of this video, by the way, if you've made it to this part of the video, thank you very much for watching, and I hope you guys have all enjoyed. Till we get to the big juicy part of the rating out of 10. And remember, at the end of all these episodes, we're going to be doing one great big tier list based on the statistics that we currently have. Things might change, remember. There is patch notes. This game is ever growing, so make sure of that. Anyways, my rating out of 10 with everything considered as 1. I would say because of the pathing issues, but the versatile ability of the healer, but you can only place one spec and it does no damage, but it is the only healer. Because of the pathing issues alone, I will give this unit a 5 out of 10. 5 out of 10, you're like, but he's a healer. He's the one that carries games. You literally just said Invigorating Healer wins PvP matches. What the hell are you talking about? Hear me out. The pathing issue kills healers more times than you could imagine. I have played thousands of campaign maps. I've seen lots of PvP, and I've seen lots of dungeons. I've played it all. And I can tell you for a sole fact that how many times that a healer has kamikazed himself because of the target priority and actually caused us to lose the map or the PvP match because we didn't have the healing. They fixed that bug. I would give it a way higher rating. But because of that game-breaking bug itself. Oh, by the way, fix Grand Healer, by the way. Fix the bug, man. Give it 5 out of 10. If it did anything else, probably give it a 7 or 8. But because of that pathing, it sticks at 5. So there you go. Anyways, guys, that was the next episode of Unit Rundown. We captured the healer. This was actually a lot more complex one. This one took a lot more research, I would say, because I know most of the units. I know how they work, but I didn't know the full understanding of how the healer worked. Now that I do, and I did my research, I gotta say, super, super, super complicated. Holy crap. That's probably the most advanced unit I've known yet. Anyway, if you guys enjoyed this video, make sure to follow and subscribe and like. Maybe hit that bell. Well, I guess you can't follow on YouTube, but speaking of following, maybe you follow me on Twitch. We do lots of SR battles, and we also play a little bit of Legends of Eidolon. So, quick shout out to that. You know, I can put that as my game category now because I said it. Anyways, tune in for next time when we do our next unit. Leave in the comment section below to see which unit you want next. I took the comment from down below here of the healer that they wanted to see next. So there you go. Thank you for leaving your comment. I appreciate it. Anyway, been your stream captain for today. My name is GriffyBit, proud owner of the Itty Bitty Army. I'll see you guys in the next episode. Peace out.